our American way of life. Isn't it grand? Peace, freedom, and bacon and eggs. Seems perfect. But what if it's not? Friends, your future may not be as secure as you think. Where will you be when the atomic bombs fall? You can secure your family's future by reserving a spot in a state-of-the-art underground vault from Vault-Tec. That's right, Bob. Act now, and your family can wait out the horrors of nuclear devastation. And Doris, the vault will have all the amenities of your modern-day home, and it's attractive. And Sally, in the vault, you might meet that special someone, just as you would on the surface. And in a few short years, you and your fellow vault dwellers will repopulate our great country. And Billy, you'll have lots of swell kids to play with. Reserve your family spot in a state-of-the-art underground vault today. Sign up now and prepare for the future.
I love those dear hearts and gentle people who live in my hometown, because those dear hearts and gentle people will never ever let you down.
Out here on vacation in the Bahamas, another beautiful day. Check it out, check it out. Ooh. I want to talk to y'all for a minute about the power of perception. You see, there's a lot that goes into being a hot social media content provider. For instance, y'all think I got time to go on vacation? No, I got social to do. Come on, man, this is blue screen. In fact, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I haven't looked like this good in years. I've been totally computer generated since like the 90s. You know what? This ain't even real blue screen. It's 2019, y'all. Nothing's real.
I am not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see?
welcome to the latest in AI video generation. It's terrifying, hilarious, and impressive, and often all three of these things at once, and it feels like it came out of nowhere. Before today, earlier AI-generated videos had some fairly obvious telltale signs that they weren't real, and videos like this one of AI-generated Will Smith eating spaghetti, and this one of a beer party with a random firestorm in the middle of it, probably went viral for those reasons. These new ones generated by Sora will probably also go viral, but for a different and much more sinister reason. Because it's getting so good, many of us won't be able to tell it's AI generated, not even when we know it is. I mean, unless you're this guy who still finds it fairly obvious. I've been following AI generated stuff for ages. I knew it would get better, but wasn't sure how much better, nor how quickly it would improve. And this new video generating technology seems to jump my expectations by a few years, because it seems to get motion right. Even really difficult motion, like walking animations, where you'd expect AI to make a few bone-breaking mistakes from time to time. But most of the time it just looks right. Even the way different body parts move and flex, the way earrings jangle about and so on, it's good enough to pass at a glance, but it's also good enough to pass a more thorough inspection. What I'd expect would confuse AI videos such as this one would be where stuff goes out of view for a while and then comes back in again. Take a look at these two people walking in the background. They go behind her, and then they come out again, looking the same. Somehow this video has remembered how they looked, where they were, and so on. But can it do it again? Yes. They found a way of generating entire videos at once, which apparently gets around these previous limitations with stability. It might not always be perfect, but it's still a lot better than it has any right to be. This video, as incredible as it is, does have minor imperfections, like her earring, which appears to be a complete hoop earlier on in the video, but then it switches to more of a snail design later on, and doesn't form a perfect hoop anymore. But it really does feel like a minor nitpick to point this out when the general scene is so detailed and coherent. This car footage is already hinting at what the future of racing games could look like, and indeed, how their scenes could be generated. And I'm sorry, I resisted the temptation but couldn't, and just had to compare this driving footage with this clip from the video game Dirt Rally 2, because I was getting flashbacks of tumbling off that corner from the game. The similarities between these two tracks is just too creepy for it to be coincidence. Have they literally run this game's footage through the AI and changed the theme? It's ridiculous! Right, back to the video now. I had this wow, think of the possibilities moment when AI generated pictures passed the critical quality threshold, and now with these videos, it's doing the same thing again. What's terrifying and sad is how quickly all this will become the norm. Unless you're watching this video within the first few weeks or months after its release, the chances are all this footage will seem fairly primitive compared to what you're used to now. But that's even more reason for me to document it as it's happening. And you should check out the playlist of me covering these AI generated advancements over the last few years, because it really has come on a long way. There is sometimes weird motion, almost like some bits of it, like the waves in the sea, are being animated at a lower frame rate than the rest of the image, but I'm not sure how much of that is the AI generation and how much of that is just limited bitrate on something as bitrate hungry as the sea. They show a bunch of fail videos too, where it does stupid stuff like to have somebody running the wrong way on a conveyor belt. This one's a bit trippy, with dogs seemingly appearing out of nowhere like some weird twisted magic trick. Magicians already suffered from people not taking their profession seriously, but now they're at real risk of being outdone by AI. This one's weird as well, birthing a new genre of videos where you have to watch it a second time to try and make sense of what's going on. It's almost like a dream how smoothly that chair appears out of nowhere from behind the covers. Again, magicians, you have your work cut out. And then there's some real uncanny valley about how the people carry on as normal while the stuff they're holding starts floating and morphing about. Yet it only makes me like it more. Weird how AI sometimes imitates video game clipping problems, like this prompt of a basketball going through a hoop and then exploding. That's weird, but it's only following orders. Until. But the lighting throughout is spot on, and the flailing motion of the net is eerily convincing as well. This construction site shows a health and safety nightmare as a forklift truck bounces off a person and immediately changes direction by about 90 degrees, showing that the scenes don't always remain coherent. And then this guy's red top changes to green, and this guy suddenly splits in two. There's a real problem with scale in this image, with a bunch of giants sat next to lots of small people, so there are definitely a few things they need to iron out here. And it doesn't always listen to prompts either. This one of a Dalmatian ignores the request for many people walking and cycling along the canal streets in front of the buildings, which was included in the original prompt. I mean, they probably would be visible there if the view of the scene was from further out. But it's not so there. But it is interesting that, as real as this video might look, minus some parallax issues of the dog getting around these shutters even though they're clearly sticking out too far for it to be able to do that, it doesn't mean the AI has envisioned the scene the same way as the person requesting the prompt has. It's like it has a mind of its own. This prompt asking for a chameleon showcasing its striking colour changing capabilities doesn't seem to change colour at all. A weird instance where AI happens to be more realistic than real life. I don't care too much for these CGI scenes either, but I can appreciate that they're probably already approaching the point where they could fill in for child's TV shows and stuff. And in a few short years, we'll probably be ready to replace all the people working on CGI in movies as well. There's a ton of AI-generated video nonsense that's headed our way, and YouTubers such as myself will be some of the first to have to compete with it, content-wise. But the joke's on them because I've had years of experience generating nonsense content. Asking a corgi to vlog itself is also ripe for problems, as it isn't quite sure how the dog is meant to hold the stick, so it just sort of pokes out from beneath its necklace thingy. What's amusing here are the low-flying and hopping seagulls whizzing past, who seem to disappear behind the rod. If you fast forward this video, then it's more obvious the selfie stick isn't attached to the dog as well. But I really have to nitpick to find problems with it, and if I saw this scene at a glance, I wouldn't immediately assume it was AI generated, even though the content may be ridiculous. This sort of technology enables some really unique camera angles, like this cat pacing through the garden. I noticed at one point it double steps with one of its front paws, which is probably physically impossible. But it's still scary. It's almost good enough. And although it may occasionally forget about a limb or create a new one out of nowhere, there is still something that feels very real about these clips. Like it's captured something about our way of life, albeit in a dreamlike state for now. And it enables some truly amazing possibilities, like to re-envision moments in history, even from before the era of videos and photos. But it goes without saying that it's also very, very scary. The makers of this technology, OpenAI, talk about their safety policies, but say that there's no way to predict all of the ways in which this sort of technology can be abused. And it isn't even that. Sora could be perfectly safe and 100% accurate with its prompts and when not to generate harmful videos. It still shows us that this kind of technology is possible, and there's nothing stopping other AI systems from generating videos without the same safeguards and precautions. And it's only a matter of time before this happens. On one hand, there's always been photoshopping and faking of videos, but somehow this feels different, instant, infinite, just like this bowl of spaghetti.
Putin is a very interesting example. He never smiles. You can make him smile. But if you had a better sequence of him, right, where he did smile, then it would look more like him. Now it looks more like me in a sense. I think people think, you can manipulate images but not videos. That's not true. I mean, that's just not true.
Phone scams are nothing new, but thanks to artificial intelligence, they are getting more sophisticated and more believable. Scam artists are now using AI to clone voices to trick unsuspecting victims. CBS's Carter Evans takes a look at this frightening new technology in our continuing series, The Age of AI.
Jennifer DeStefano will never forget the frantic call she got from her 15-year-old daughter, Brianna.
And she was, "Mom, these bad men have me, help me, help me, help me." And this man gets on, very aggressive. "Listen here, I had your daughter." And then that's when I went into panic mode.
The man demanded $1 million.
I said that wasn't possible. So then he came up with a $50,000.
She never paid the money and would soon learn the call was a popular AI scam. New software can recreate the voices of loved ones in distress, and scammers use that to ask for large sums of money.
This man comes on the phone. He said, "You're going to give me $5,000.
I heard our daughter on the phone. Like, it was unmistakably her.
Americans lost nearly $9 billion to fraud last year alone, up more than 150% in just 2 years.
Younger people experience fraud and fraud losses more often than older people, but it's that older adult who has so much to lose.
Cybersecurity expert Pete Nicoletti created My Voice from old news reports online. What you're about to hear is something I never said.
Hey, this is Carter. I need your credit card number right now.
I mean, that really sounded like me.
It is you. It's cloned you. It's AI Carter.
To test it out, we called my mother.
Hey, I'm about to do an interview, but I have a quick question. I need you to text me your driver's license number as soon as you can.
She fell for the fake voice.
I feel bad.
I feel terrible
We
about
just
it.
scammed my mom.
Did you just get a call from me?
Asking for my driver's license number?
Yes. That was an AI-generated voice.
Oh, God, Carter, that's scary. Is this the real you now?
This is the real me now.
We live in a post-real society. You can't trust the voice, you can't trust the photo, and you can't trust the video anymore.
Our voice is like a fingerprint, and that's that unique fingerprint that's being exploited and weaponized. It has to stop.
And Nora, the technology is really improving. Soon, scammers will be able to react instantly to anything you say by converting their voice into the voice of your loved one in real time.
Carter, this is scary stuff, really eye-opening. So what can people do to protect themselves?
Well, there's a couple of things you can do right away. And the first thing is to create a safe word that only your family is going to know. Secondly, you want to make your social media accounts private. Don't give that information away to potential scammers to use against you. And finally, if you get one of these calls, hang up. Call them back. Make sure they're really in trouble.
Carter Evans, thank you.
So, how are you doing there, Joe? Come on, wake up, Sleepy Joe.
Wait a second. Who are you? Do I know you?
Yeah.
Are you James? Wait for me a second.
Oh, God, don't start.
My medicine hasn't kicked in yet.
That's not a surprise.
Hey, I thought you were a nice guy, Danny.
I'm Danny.
Is it Tommy?
Wrong.
Question. So in the room, I have my TV set up with Roku. The Roku works just fine, but I can't get the Nintendo Switch to show up on the TV screen. Why is it doing this?
What input do you have your Nintendo plugged into?
What is that?
Seriously? The HDMI needs to be connected to the Nintendo, which goes into one of the inputs. Then, on the TV screen, change the input to match the switch. You got that, Sleepy Joe?
Yes, press the switch twice time.
Joe, I'm thinking of a number 1 through 10. What is it?
Billy, I'm thinking it's 14, 17.
Sorry, it was 9.
Oh, shucks.
I win. I always win.
Yeah, is that true? Bruce?
Of course it is.
Then tell me, who is the current president?
Oh. Joe, shots were fired. At least you said one smart thing.
Babushka, I love you.
Hey, I love you too, Joe. Now let's go fire up your Nintendo Switch. Hey, let us know in the comments below what topic you would like us to talk about next time.
Hurry up. Why are you taking so long to get your words out, Jeff?
Shut up, Joe. I'm just trying to be very clear, just in case these viewers are as slow as you.
AI is used for all kinds of things, from smart tech to robotics and gaming. But there's one group that are using artificial intelligence for rather nefarious reasons. Criminals. Imagine you're working at a British company and your CEO calls.
We missed the deadline for a transfer in Germany. Since you're an hour behind us, I need you to transfer 220,000 euros to an account in Hungary.
You recognize his voice and his mild German accent, so you complete the transaction. But it wasn't your CEO, Johannes, you were talking to. It was an AI. This is the case of the false Johannes.
The false Johannes is the first one where we see very strong indications that AI has been used. We don't see that yet in other cases, but if it's very well done, that's the trick about it, we might not even know it.
But how was it done?
We are quite certain that it must have been an AI-based voice cloning software.
Marie-Christine Krug is a cybersecurity expert with insurance company Euler Hermes. The company had to pay off the insurance claim for the false Johannes case. All you would need to program one of these voice clones is recorded snippets of the target's voice. These can often be found online, for example from interviews the target's done. Deepfakes use artificial intelligence to recreate faces and voices of people. But how? Deepfakes are the product of not one, but two AI algorithms that work together, and something called a generative adversarial network, or GAN. The two algorithms are called a generator and a discriminator. The generator is producing a fake video. The discriminator is trying to distinguish between the real images and the fake video. This iterative process continues until the generator is able to fool the discriminator into thinking that the footage is real. By watching recordings and gathering data to analyze how people move their faces, artificial intelligence can then recreate this live. They can even be used to manipulate the lips of someone else, so it looks like they're saying something different. This was invented to improve dubbing films into foreign languages, but it could also be used for identity fraud, to make it possible to impersonate someone for a remote verification for your bank. But it's not just this that criminals are using AI for. It also makes traditional hacking more convenient.
And really what we're seeing, it just is this ability to use artificial intelligence just to increase the speed and volume of attacks. And that's really been the theme of 2020, and it's pulled into 2021. It's just the speed and volume of attacks has just gone up by orders of magnitude.
Evidence was found that a leaked database of 1.4 billion passwords was used to gather data. Hackers can also use AI bots on social media to farm information and fish for account details. AI can, however, also come to the rescue, detecting whether something is deepfake or whether activity from a social media account is suspicious is also done by AI.
It's a bit of an arms race, really. It's the cyber criminals have access to artificial intelligence, so do the defenders, and really it's just a question of trying to keep up and making sure that you're using the appropriate techniques at speed now.
Companies already lose millions and billions of dollars a year in fraud, but this number could keep growing.
This is a website I found. It's called Real D3D. And this is, let me make this bigger. This is IMAX or AMC Theater. And this is where you can go and see 3D movies. It tells you what's the difference between 2D and 3D, virtual reality, 3D glasses. We all know these 3D glasses. They're the ones, the blue, they look blue, but they got it's the blue and the red together, and it brings things out. It's the 3D. They used to come on the back of, I'm gonna age myself here. They used to come on the backs of cereal boxes back when I was a kid. And you would use it to look at the drawing or the images that were on the cereal box. Let's go to another page here. The neuroscience. Let's talk about the neuroscience of this. Okay, so your brain believes in what it's seeing on the screen. My grandmother, this was back when it was WWE or WWF. I don't remember. It was back in the 70s and the 80s. And my grandmother still loved watching wrestling on TV, but she couldn't watch it because she would get so engrossed in what was going on the screen that her blood pressure would go high. She would get nosebleeds, and we would have to take her to the hospital, get her nose packed, whatever. So even though she liked watching it, she was so engulfed in it, and she had such an emotional response to what she was seeing on the screen that it was in our best interest not to let Grandma watch the wrestlers. But that is the reality of your brain. Your reality is constructed by your brain. And here's what that means and why it matters. Now, what is the science of visual illusions can teach us about our polarized world? Fix your gaze on the black dot. I'm going to pull this up here just real quick. Okay. No, let me go back here and see. Okay, you can see. Okay. Fix your gaze on the black dot on the left side of this image. It says, but wait, finish reading this paragraph first. As you gaze at the left dot, try to answer the question, in what direction is the object on the right moving? Is it drifting diagonally or is it moving up and down? Remember, focus on the dot on the left-hand side. I'm going to move it up here for us. Okay. So I'm looking at the dot on the left-hand side. The image to the right of me is moving left and right. Oh, wait a minute. I don't know. I see it because I'm reading it. It's moving now, so it's diagonal. But it appears that the object on the right is moving diagonally up to the right and then back down to the left, right? Right. Actually, it's not. It's moving up and down in a straight and vertical line, which if you look at it, it is. This is a visual illusion. An alternating black-white patch inside the object suggests diagonal motion and confuses our senses. Like all misperceptions, it teaches us that our experience of reality is not perfect. But this particular illusion has recently reinforced scientists' understanding of deeper, almost philosophical truths about the nature of our consciousness. It's really important to understand we're not seeing reality, says neuroscientist Patrick Kavanagh, a research professor at Dartmouth College and a senior fellow at Glendon College in Canada. We're seeing a story that's being created for us. Most of the time, the story our brains generate matches the reality or the physical world, but not always. Our brains also unconsciously bend our perception of reality to meet our desires or expectations, and they fill the gaps using our past experiences. All of this can bias us. Visual illusions present clear and interesting challenges for how we live. How do we know what's real? And once we know the extent of our brain's limits, how do we live with more humanity and think with greater care about our perceptions? So this is going to go on. I'm not going to finish reading it. It's a very, very long article. I'm going to put the link in the description, but it talks about how our brain constructs reality in the world around us. Now, there's a difference between virtual reality and augmented reality. And augmented reality, pull this up. Augmented reality, or AR, versus virtual reality, VR. What is the difference? Now, on the screen, you guys see, we've heard this in the last week regarding Facebook. Facebook's rebranding. I think they're going to change their name. They're not letting us know what the name change is going to be, but it's also going to affect the Oculus. Look at the Oculus here. It's got the all-seeing eye. So the term virtual reality and augmented reality get thrown around a lot. Virtual reality headsets such as the Oculus Quest or Valve Index and AR apps and games such as Pokemon Go are still popular. They sound similar, and as the technologies develop, they bleed into each other a bit. But they're two very different concepts with characteristics that readily distinguish one from the other. What is virtual reality? Virtual reality headsets completely take over your vision to give you the impression that you are somewhere else. So when you put these glasses on, you enter into a make-believe world. So the difference between virtual reality and augmented reality are the glasses. You put the glasses on and then all of a sudden you're in another world. You're interacting with it in this reality, but making changes and affecting in the alternate reality. Hope that makes sense. What that means is that if I'm not wearing the glasses and I see you with the glasses on, I see you moving around. I see you making gestures and moving your hands and walking and interacting with the things that I can't see. They're real to you, they're not real to me. Because in my reality, they don't exist. In your reality, they do. Now, in augmented reality, that is like Pokemon Go. That is like video games like WoW or Second Life, where you're interacting in another realm, in a made up reality. If you play World of Warcraft or Second Life, you know that you interact with other players in that game. You make a reality in that reality. That is virtual, or that's the virtual reality, or that's augmented reality, because you don't need the glasses. Now, when we watch television, when we watch movies, like I said, we get taken away to a reality through the surround sound speakers, through the 3D imaging, like they do at the IMAX theaters. But we know, in our brains, we know that what we see isn't real. But what if you were to see this man? He looks real, right? How about this person? Real? 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 None of the people you see on your screen is real. Not one. It comes from a site called thispersondoesnotexist.com. And as long as you keep pushing the refresh button, I have no control over the pictures that are coming up, to let you know. I have no control. I'm just pushing the refresh button. But it doesn't really matter, because even though I'm showing this image of a child, this child doesn't exist. This woman doesn't exist. Neither does this one. None of these people exist. So when you read a newspaper article and they show an image of, let's just throw something out there. Let's just say the woman here on the screen is a missing person. Last seen last week, walking out of a shopping mall and getting into a Ford black Ford pickup truck. Okay. Would you know any better? No, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know that that person is not real. And yes, somebody had just said in the chat room, crisis actors. Well, okay, yes, but the difference between the crisis actors and these people are not real.com is that crisis actors are real. They're just playing a part in a fictitious event that's taking place. A false flag, usually. Again, when we say false flag, it doesn't mean anything didn't happen. It just means that the people or persons reported to be perpetrating that event are being made up and misconstrued and pretty much, just BS. So when you see things on the screen, okay, or you see articles or you see video, our mind takes us to that's reality. Okay. I'm going to show you guys something real quick. This was a 60 minutes. I can't play too much of it, but it was just played a couple weeks ago. Let's listen.
You may never have heard the term synthetic media, more commonly known as deep fakes, but our military, law enforcement, and intelligence agencies certainly have. They are hyper-realistic video and audio recordings that use artificial intelligence and deep learning to create fake content, or deep fakes. The US government has grown increasingly concerned about their potential to be used to spread disinformation and commit crimes. That's because the creators of deepfakes have the power to make people say or do anything, at least on our screens. Most Americans have no idea how far the technology has come in just the last 4 years, or the danger, disruption, and opportunities that come with it.
So the US government, the US military, they know that these things exist. Well, probably because they do most of them. But with that being said, they know that these things exist. And with the technology that we have, guys, we have to remember, the technology that they show us is nothing compared to the technology they have. The technology they have is like 50 to 100 years more advanced than we are aware of. So when stuff like this comes out to our attention, you got to think, well, it looks like it's pretty benign, or it doesn't look like it would actually fool anybody. But they're only showing us what they want us to see. I'm going to show you another video real quick. And you may remember this one. This one was pretty popular. It was kind of out there in the mainstream for a while. Let's take a listen to this one.
We're entering an era in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time.
Jordan Peele created this fake video of President Obama to demonstrate how easy it is to put words in someone else's mouth.
Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet.
Not everyone bought it, but the technology behind such frauds is rapidly improving, even as worries increase about their potential for harm. This is your Bloomberg Quick Take on deepfakes. Deepfakes, or realistic-looking fake videos and audio, gained popularity as a means of adding famous actresses into porn scenes. Despite bans on major websites, they remain easy to make and find. They're named for the deep learning artificial intelligence algorithms that make them possible. Input real audio or video of a specific person, the more the better, and the software tries to recognize patterns in speech and movement. Introduce a new element like someone else's face or voice, and a deepfake is born.
It's actually extremely easy to make one of these things. There were just some supposed, breakthroughs from academic researchers who work with this particular kind of machine learning in the past few weeks, which would drastically reduce the amount of video you need actually to create one of these.
Programs like FakeApp, the most popular and widely available for making deep fakes, need dozens of hours of human assistance to create a video that looks like this rather than this. In August, researchers at Carnegie Mellon revealed software that accurately rendered not just facial features, but changing weather patterns and flowers in bloom. This advance is not yet available to the public. But with increasing capability comes increasing concern.
This is kind of fake news on steroids, potentially. We do not know of a case yet where someone has tried to use this to perpetrate a kind of fraud or an information warfare campaign, or for that matter, to really damage someone's reputation. But it's the danger that everyone is really afraid of.
Okay, he says they are not aware that this has been used to deceive anybody or to hurt anybody, but they're not aware of it. Come on, guys, let's be real. Okay, like I said, if they have this technology, then we know that they have technology that's 50 to 100 years more advanced. Green screen, for instance, is being used on our news media. The Sinclair broadcast group is known for passing around scripts, and they've been caught during the first Gulf War using green screen, like Wag the Dog, right? Yeah. So when Hollywood it has the ability to fool us into believing for 90 minutes or 2 hours that we're floating around in outer space, or that we're underneath the ocean, or that we're jumping from building to building in helicopters and in fighter jets. If they have the ability to trick our minds into believing that for just 90 minutes, what do you think they can do on a video that's only 30 seconds long, where it's boom, hit us and go? They have the ability to mess with our brains. The Tavistock Institute is a prime example of organizations that have this ability. There was a whistleblower back a number of years ago. Her name was Svali, S-V-A-L-I. And we don't know what happened to Svali. She came on the scene back in the 2013, 14, 15, 12, 13, 14, I think it was. And she was a whistleblower. She told us a lot of things about the Illuminati and the virtual reality used to pretty much mind F their victims. Then she disappeared, and we don't know what happened to her. I pray that she went into hiding and she was able to escape. But in reality, I don't think that's what happened to her. But she starts talking about how they use virtual reality programming to split the minds of the victim or of the person that they're trying to program through MK Ultra programming. Let me tell you something, okay? This pull this up real quick. This right here that we're being shown is as being real and what they're using is nowhere near what they're using for the MK Ultra of these people. Absolutely no way. And when I say that we're 50 to 100 years more advanced, this is where it comes in. Okay, they can make us believe anything. Guys, look at it. Project Bluebeam, we know darn well that they're going to have to make it real enough. We've seen some of the things that they've been doing, the 3D imaging that they've been testing. We've had those floating cities in the sky over in Japan. We have these animals that are jumping out of the ground, out of what do I say, out of stone or concrete floors in museums. We have these images now up on billboards in like Beijing and Hong Kong and New York City and all of these high-tech places where if you're walking and you can see this fish jumping out at you, it looks like it's really jumping out at you. They have this ability to literally mind F us. And knowing that there is websites out there, as in thispersondoesnotexist.com, what do we know is real and what do we know is not real? And this is where our discernment comes in. This is where we have to take a look at these things and we have to decide for ourselves what is real and what is not real. All of these pictures of these people I'm putting up on the screen, they don't exist. And yet, how many times could you very easily put this picture up on the screen of a missing person, or up on the screen on a news article or a written article, say the New York Times or something, and make this person believable? Give this person a backstory and make this person believable. And how many people on social media would jump to the fact and be like, no, that person's real. No, I saw that person. They're real. No, they're not. And this is where our discernment has to come in. This is where we have to understand the technology that they have, understand that their mindset is they don't give a rat's about us. They don't care what we want, what we think, what we know. Their objective is to deceive. And this is what they're doing. So when you see things happening up on the screen, I'm having a hard time believing about this whole Brian Laundrie thing and this Gabby incident that's going on. I really do. And I honestly believe that possibly that this is some sort of a manipulated, some sort of event, because I'm looking at the parents and I'm looking at their reaction to when they supposedly found Brian. I mean, you know, what, hundreds of FBI agents and law enforcement agencies out there looking for this guy. Their parents get out of bed one day, and quicker than I can find my keys in the morning, they've now stumbled on his body, and not an ounce of remorse. It's things like this that they use not only as distraction, but to get us on the fields. When we see these news articles pop up that have to do with children, if you're a parent like myself, that hits me. It hits me hard. And I don't want to believe that I'm being fooled. I don't want to believe that, I'm being lied to. But we have to be careful because they do have this ability. The Tavistock Institute. Guys, if you're not researching the Tavistock, you need to. The Tavistock Institute knows what buttons to push to get us to react. They know what to do, what to say, what to show us, what we need to listen to in order to persuade us into believing a narrative. The Tavistock Institute got the entire UK back in World War II. Nobody wanted to go to war. They wanted to stay out of the war. But Tavistock Institute, in the span of just a few months, turned persuasion to where the people actually believed that they were demanding that their country go to war. No, that's not what happened. No, the military and the government made you think that that's what it was. Completely mind-effing you. That's what's happening now. The Tavistock Institute knows exactly what they're doing, what buttons to push to get us to react. So when you see things on the news, like a missing person or all of this stuff, remember, distraction, distraction, distraction. What are they distracting us from? Take a look outside of the box. They don't want you to look. Think of it as a shell game. They want you to concentrate on their hands in the shell. They don't want you to concentrate on anything. Anything could go on around you while you're paying attention to their hands in that shell. Anything could happen around you in your environment, and you wouldn't know because you're concentrating on that one spot. Look outside the box. They've got things that are going on. There's the distraction of what's going on at our south border right now. Not saying it's not true. Just saying it's a distraction. This whole shipping industry, don't even get me going on that. It's all BS. I'm sorry. It's real. Don't get me wrong. It's real, but it's completely manufactured. What's going on over with China? China's now saying that, oh no, that wasn't a nuclear missile that we sent around around the world. No, that wasn't it. No. Yeah, well, was it? Do they have the capability? Absolutely. How many things are on our coasts right now out in those ships that we don't know about? Club K, guys, I'm telling you. Research Club K missiles. They have the ability. So whenever you see something on the screen, question it. The Bible tells us to test all things. Study to show thyself approved. Do your own due diligence. Don't just take somebody's word for what it is. That's why I put the links in the description area. I don't put anything up on the screen. I'm not one of these channels that comes on there and says, believe what I say because I say it. I have the proof. I have the proof. I'm just not going to show it to you. When I go watch a video on YouTube, first thing I do is I click down in the description area. And if they don't have their sources, yeah, sorry. Test all things. Do your own due diligence. Use the links that I provide for yourself. Make up your own mind. Bella, what are you doing? Sorry, guys. Don't take anybody's word for it, let alone mainstream media or what you see on the TV. Like I said, guys, if they can make a person believe that they're floating off in outer space or underneath the ocean for 90 minutes, man, think of what they can do for a 30-second news blip on your TV.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. I told you so. I told you. I told you so. I told you. Remember when I told you about 9/11? Remember when I told you about Building 7? Remember when I told you about the fluoride in the water? Yes, I did. Remember when I told you about the New World Order? Remember that? Remember when I told you about the chemtrails in the sky? Remember when I told you that NASA was full of lies? Remember when I told you about the ultra mind control? Well, I just want to say that I told you so, yeah. Remember when I told you about 432 hertz, that is, and what 440 can do to you? It hurts my ears. Remember when I told you about the vaccine agenda? Yes, I did. And that Michelle Obama is a transgender. Yes, he is. The dinosaur fraud, the climate change scam, and yes, Sandra Bullock is also a man. Remember when I told you that there ain't no globe? Well, I just want to say that I told you so. 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 Yeah. Remember when I told you about the TV flicker rate? And how it puts your brain in an alpha state? Remember when I told you about germ theory? Remember when I told you about gravity? Remember that? Remember when I told you about Paul McCartney? Remember when I told you about direct energy? Remember when I told you about Monsanto? Well, I just want to say that I told you so. 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 Yeah. Remember when I told you about the mainstream media? Your so-called celebrities and pedophilia. Remember that? Child trafficking and adrenochrome. Remember when I told you about the Georgia Guidestone? Remember when I told you about the false flag operations? Remember when I told you about 5G radiation? Remember that I told you that Well, I just want to say that I told you so. I told you so.